Okay, let's see. Is this working?
Yeah, it's working.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you as well. Okay, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Oh, luckily it works. Okay. So day 5 today.
Yeah.
It didn't take us much time as I thought. I was very optimistic, but a little bit nervous because, yeah, as you said, 5 days is 5 days, so a lot can go wrong. But nothing did go wrong, right? It went quite well.
Yeah, it went well. And I
Mm?
think many of you us have learned a lot of a lot through these days too.
Yeah, I think that as well. Well, today is day 5, and as we said, we're going to have a review of the previous days, and then we will end with a Friday beer, as I, I heard it should be called instead, because we're going to gather a bit later than an after work usually is. And we also missed day 3, unfortunately. But before going over each day, let's remind to our listeners, of course, we're not live this time. We're pre-recording this session, but this QR code is still active, and you can still go in and activate it. So just pick up your phone if you have a smartphone, and just scan the QR code, and it will get you the badge, and it's a nice thing to have. And then, with that said, I believe that we can go through the days. So, what we do in day 1, Carlo?
Yeah, so we built the day one. We built a sensor which we connected to an IoT hub, and further on from
Mm-hmm.
that, we connected it to a Azure function and
Mm-hmm.
also a logic app, so we can send out mails when the weather is getting hotter. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, not the weather. When the sensor gives us
yeah, of course.
higher temperatures. Yeah. Well, I remember that before streaming and before doing this live, we tried a couple of times to do it together offline. Do you remember what challenges we faced? What was most difficult to solve?
I would mostly say that the biggest part, but also the smallest one, was to actually random generate a double, since the random generator doesn't have that by default. So
Uh, okay, yeah, it wasn't as straightforward as one would imagine, probably. In my case, I think that we struggled a little bit with the Azure function picking the events from the IoT hub, because the whole thing is that when you do this stuff and when you code this flow, you need to encrypt, let's call it that way, in the sensor to package the message in a way that the Azure ID Hub can receive it, and then you need to decrypt in the Azure function to read the message. And this was not very clear. It took a little time to solve this riddle. And then, of course, the Logic app also expects an HTTP request and the body, and you don't really know what you send and what you receive. But I think it went pretty well, didn't it?
yeah, I think so
In the
too.
end of the day, yeah. So, if you would keep one part from this whole flow for those who are new to Azure IoT, which one would you keep?
I've I believe I would keep IoT Hub actually because that's the most central part. So I would
Mm,
definitely keep that in mind for future projects and stuff.
I agree. I agree, and I remember that me as well when I first started doing projects with IoT. And of course, the first thing you always do is that you create an Azure IoT hub, and you hope that everything works. And the problem with it is that you cannot really see the messages. At least I couldn't. I don't know a way to see the messages without using an Azure function to pick them, or without using a Stream Analytics job. And I know that there is a tool, the Azure IoT Explorer, or what it's called, but I never get that working, to be honest. And then you have the security issues. So if the Azure IT Hub only uses private endpoints, then this Explorer is a bit harder to set up. So for me, this was the scariest part. But once you understand how the flow works, that the IoT Hub is not going to send something, but it's going to make it available for us to pick up, then it's pretty straight flow, I believe. So yeah, and this was the first day, which, if I remember, we went a little bit off time, a little bit more than 90 minutes, and this was
Yeah,
the only day. The other days we struggled to make it to an hour. So day two, for me, this was the most fun day, to be honest. But
yeah.
please start. Which part of day two did you enjoy the most? Which part of that project?
For me, I was most interested in the Grafana, since I had
Mm,
never worked with that before in a real project. So it was really interesting and fun to actually explore it more and see how it works and how you can connect to it.
mm. I agree. We can confess that we tested Grafana for the first time the day before the event,
Yeah,
because our original goal was to present the data in Power BI, which is what we do in our real life projects. But in our real life projects, we have company accounts, and we have all those tools. And you take for granted that everything is available um, everywhere, but that's not always the case. So we were taken by surprise there, and luckily we managed to set up Grafana, a really really simple cloud account, and then everything is quite straightforward there. You don't need to be an expert to set up an account. They have wizards for everything, and just Google how to get data from Postgres to Grafana, and the first hit is going to give you the answer. I also like the stream analytics job, and this is one of my favorite parts, even in our real projects, because you can do a lot. You can manipulate your input and send it to the output the way you want. And once you get a grasp of it, once you understand how it works, then I think it's a lifesaver, and it's very cheap as well. I think it only costs a few dollars if you don't misuse it. Um, yeah. So if you think how many IoT projects could be done just with those five elements, I think the majority of those could really you come a very long way with only those components, because after all, most often what you're interested is awareness, is to see what is happening with your devices, what kind of data they produce, if any values need your attention. And I think that using only those, so a sensor of two, or uh, I don't know, any data producing thing, just streaming the data to the IoT hub, and then from there, a stream analytics job canalizing the data to any data source of your preference. They support pretty much everything. And then you can use a tool like Grafana or Power BI, or possibly other tools, to present the data, and you're done. Like that's the end of it. I like that
yeah.
a lot. Yeah. Then on day three, we didn't manage to live stream on the third day, both because of an unforeseeable event that happened to me, but also because I had planned to have a guest who unfortunately could not make it that day. But let's save it for a next separate and pretty special session. And then we came to day 4, which was yesterday. And for me, yesterday was one of the best days. I
Yeah,
could
same
say
here.
that this was the highlight, unless today is so legendary that it beats yesterday. But I think that yesterday was the highlight of the whole series because we had an AMA session, an Ask Me Anything session with Maria Anastasia Mustaka, and we asked her 15 questions, and she answered all of those, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got
What? Yeah, please.
we got really good questions on them. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really fun.
Yes, she's a great person, and she's a Microsoft MVP, so she knows what she's talking about. And we asked her a few quite hard questions as well, and okay, no insider stuff, but I think that we got some very good ideas. And what I kept from the whole session is the project that she did together with a couple of other MVPs, the flight thingy, when they collected data from a real flight, and they used pretty much the whole Azure IoT suite to present and take care of the data. For me, this was amazing. There are 2 videos of those, 3 hours each, so it's quite a big session. And I have started watching the first one, and I'm in the middle, and I have already learned a lot of things and found quite many things that we are doing wrong in our projects, and they would really solve our issues. What about you, Carlo? What did you keep from yesterday's session?
I would definitely keep that how important it is to actually update your skills all the time and always stay updated, because there is so much new stuff and stuff going on. So it's always
Mm.
important to always update it. And also that she said that it's one of the best ways to always get updated is to connect with other people that also have an interest for this or working with it. So
Mm.
that I will definitely keep that.
Yes. And when you say connecting people, one of the best ways to connect is to have a beer with your friends and acquaintances. And that's what we're going to do in a couple of hours. And I really think that we should be more active in the communities. And with that, we have to thank the Azure Skåne community who helped us and allowed us to hold those sessions under their umbrella, and also for the NFT token. Uh, it was really fun. I learned a lot. We had a manager, you and I, Carlo, at the previous job, who introduced learning by teaching to us. Do you
Yeah,
remember? Yeah,
yeah,
it really makes you put up your best attitude when you have to show something to others. So if you want to learn something, then trying to teach it to someone else is the very best way.
yeah, definitely. I will say that from this lesson, I have learned a lot from this. So, yeah, definitely.
Mm. And if it's finishing words before I end the recording.
I just want to say thank you for being here and looking at the sessions, and hope to see you again, maybe at Azure Skåne and other communities.
I agree. I also learned a lot. It was very fun doing that together with you, Carlo, and I was really beyond excited to see how many people watch the videos and how many wrote to us on LinkedIn. Really, it is what gets me going. Feeling that we managed to help at least one person is more than enough to keep on doing what we do. So thank you, all of you, and I hope to see you in some community somewhere. Bye bye.
Bye bye.